Islam Makhachev is a dominant force in the UFC today, and to many new viewers and UFC veterans alike, he may seem unbeatable, an unstoppable animal. Makhachev continues to rack up wins since his UFC debut ages ago, but what many don't know is that Islam Makhachev has actually been beaten. It may only be one loss, but are you surprised? Let's dive in. How is Islam Makhachev so dominant? There are a few key reasons why Islam Makhachev is so dominant in the UFC. Firstly, his grappling is world class. He has great takedowns and an even better ground game. When the fight goes to the ground, it usually means it's all over for his opponent. Secondly, his striking is very good too. Although he doesn't have the power of some of the other strikers in the UFC, his accuracy and timing are excellent. This comes as no surprise to many UFC veterans and shows that he has an almost animal-like instinct for fighting. Capable of bringing the fight wherever it has to go, Makhachev is a tough opponent for anyone. Beyond this, his cardio is amazing. He never seems to get tired, although, let's be real, he hardly ever needs it. This is highlighted by almost all of his most recent fights, where he gets off the canvas looking unscathed after his victory. This man is a machine. What happened in Islam Makhachev's only loss? Makhachev's only loss came against Adriano Martins at UFC 192. It was a huge upset at the time, and one which many still can't quite understand. Islam Makhachev seemed to have the fight in the bag and was winning the stand-up exchanges. However, in the second round, Martins caught Makhachev with a huge left hook, which sent him crashing to the canvas. He was unable to recover, and Martins took the win. It was a crushing blow for Makhachev, who was undefeated up until that point. He has spoken about the loss in interviews since, and seems to have taken it in his stride. He knows that everyone loses eventually, and that it's just part of the sport. With this being said, the story behind the loss, as well as the changes to his style since then, are fascinating. Although Makhachev may have lost, many believe that he still remains undefeated mentally, and that this loss has only made him stronger. There's really no question that Makhachev is one of the most dominant forces in the UFC at the moment, and all this will be brought to a T in his upcoming fight against Charles Oliveira. What did the pros have to say about Islam Makhachev's only loss? The pros were quick to react to Makhachev's only loss. Many were shocked and couldn't believe what they had just seen. Adriano Martins was by no means on Makhachev's level and hasn't skyrocketed to fame since. It seems incredible that someone with Martins' record could take out Makhachev, but that's just the way the cookie crumbles sometimes. Nobody expected him to win. He most likely didn't expect to win himself. However, he pulled off the impossible and stunned the world. That's the thing about UFC. Anything can happen. Ultimately, though, the pros have been very quick to forget Makhachev's loss. After all, this was a one-time slip-up. It definitely doesn't seem as if it'll happen again, and it was an unlucky shot for Makhachev. There's a story of a great general who lost a fencing match because he slipped on a rock, and it just goes to show that the same goes for Makhachev. As for what the pros think, though, they mainly just let it be. After all, why bring it up when Makhachev has proven that he's so much more than that? What's next for Islam Makhachev? Despite the loss, Makhachev's career is still very much on track. He rebounded quickly with win after win and hasn't lost since. Currently sitting at a 22-1-0 record and a 10-fight win streak, there's no doubt that Makhachev is still one of the best in the business. He's set to face Charles Oliveira in his next fight, which is sure to be an excellent matchup. Oliveira is a beast within the ring, and his rags to riches story is something that everyone loves. He's a true underdog, yet wears the crown, and that's exactly what makes him so dangerous. Both of these guys are beasts, and clearly, the UFC thinks so too, as they've decided to make this the headline act. It's sure to be an excellent fight, and one which could very well see Makhachev finally get his hands on that all-important UFC title. But that's not the least of what's happened since Makhachev's only loss. In fact, his style changed much since then, and looks almost unbeatable now. So, how did Islam Makhachev change his style after the loss? When you lose in UFC, it's not uncommon for your style to change. You have to go back to the drawing board and figure out what went wrong and how you can change it for the better. This is exactly what Makhachev did. He realized that his stand-up game wasn't quite on par with the best in the business, and so he made a change. He shifted his focus to his grappling, and boy did it pay off. Makhachev's grappling is now on another level, and it's hard to see anyone being able to take him down. He's constantly improving, and there's no doubt that he'll only get better with time. Ultimately, he's become an unstoppable force within the UFC. He's one of the most dominant fighters, and it doesn't look like anyone will be able to stop him anytime soon. But who knows? Maybe this upcoming fight against Oliveira will change everything and make the inhuman beast look human. What happened to Martins after the loss? Although Martins is the man responsible for Makhachev's only loss, his career hasn't changed much since then. He kept fighting for a while and still losing. He went on to lose his next 2 UFC fights after defeating Makhachev and was subsequently released from the organization. Since December of 2019, Martins hasn't fought in any organization, and it seems his career has come to an end. He holds a record of 28-11-0, which isn't too bad considering he was never really on the radar. He'll always have that one win against Makhachev to his name, but it's not enough to keep him going. He couldn't capitalize on the win, and ultimately, it means nothing now. It's a shame for Martins, but that's the game of UFC. Will Islam Makhachev ever lose again? This is a tough question to answer. Right now, it seems highly unlikely that Makhachev will ever lose again. He's on an absolute tear and doesn't seem to be slowing down anytime soon. However, as we all know, anything can happen in UFC. There's always an underdog, always a surprise, and always a twist. So, can Makhachev lose again? Yes, it's possible. Is it likely? Probably not. But stranger things have happened, and we just have to wait and see what the future holds. Plus, keep in mind that his next opponent isn't some nobody, and it's not going to be an easy fight. Charles Oliveira is a beast with a score of 33-8-0, so Makhachev definitely has his work cut out for him. This is the fight that could change everything. So, be sure to tune in and find out what happens when the time comes. Did Islam's loss make people lose respect for him? Islam Makhachev is one of the most dominant forces in the UFC today, and it doesn't look like anyone will be able to stop him anytime soon. He rebounded quickly from his only loss against Adriano Martins and has gone on to rack up an impressive 10-fight win streak. However, anything can happen in UFC, and it's hard to say if Makhachev will ever lose again. His next fight against Charles Oliveira is sure to be an excellent matchup, and one which could very well see Makhachev finally get his hands on that all-important UFC title. Ultimately, though, Islam Makhachev's one loss does seem to be the singular blip in an otherwise flawless career. Makhachev had no issues winning every match before that loss, and he's so far had no issues winning every match after. Because of the power that Makhachev currently holds, and the unbridled success he's had as he's risen through the divisions, it's clear that the man is currently one of the most feared and respected men in UFC. That's one thing his loss will never change. There may be pros who were shocked, and the fans certainly were, but is anybody less scared of facing Islam Makhachev in the ring? Absolutely not. He's still the same powerful, dominant fighter he always was. Ultimately, Islam Makhachev doesn't seem to care very much at all that he lost. Obviously, he wishes that it didn't happen, but he seems to have accepted the fact that everybody loses in this game, and that was his one slip-up. With so many more eyes on his name, however, a loss at this stage would be much worse. That's it for this video, though. Go ahead and drop a like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you don't miss out on any more content. Let us know in the comments what you think about Islam Makhachev and who you think is winning when he goes up against Charles Oliveira. Thanks for watching, and see you soon.